Okay, folks, it is 6:31, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the special planning commission meeting. Mr. Bentley, would you please call, well, I'll call them to order. Let's stand for the pledge. Here we go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mr. Bentley, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Mr. Tuckfield.
Here.
Mr. Provenzano. Mr. Shudo.
Here.
Mr. Spatafora.
Present.
Mr. Oliver.
Here.
Mr. Bentley. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. The next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. There are no minutes, so we need a motion to rescind the May 4th vote. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make two motions. One, I'd like to make a motion to rescind the May 4th vote, to hold a special meeting on May 13th. And then my second motion would be,
Let's do.
I'll hold on that.
I'll approve. I'll second your motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bentley, seconded by Mr. Shudo. All those in favor?
Let's do a roll call
Oh,
vote.
wait a minute.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted one question, because I don't remember who made the motion and seconded it. Do we have to have the same person who made the motion last meeting? Okay, just wanted to verify.
Okay. All right, should we do a roll call vote for this? Our attorney, Mr. Orlando?
Mr. Shudo asked for a roll call vote, so.
Okay.
We need to have.
All right, Mr. Bentley, go ahead, please.
Mr. Bentley, yes. Mr. Shudo,
Yes.
Mr. Tuckfield,
Yes.
Mr. Spatafora,
Yes.
Mr. Oliver,
Yes.
and Mr. Hardy.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Do I need to make the motion before we go any further to exclude Nunzio from any and all roll call votes?
We should do that. We should. So,
That's the motion, I'll support it.
okay, motion to exclude Mr. Provenzano by Mr. Shudo, seconded by Mr. Tuckfield. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, you have a second motion, Mr. Bentley?
I do. Motion to approve the special meeting tonight, May 11th at 6:30.
Okay. Support. Motion by Mr. Bentley, supported by Mr. Oliver. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item on our list is approval of agenda.
Mr. Chairman, there's no additions, deletions, or corrections. I make a motion, we accept the agenda as read.
Okay, motion by Mr. Shudo, seconded by Mr. Spatafora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, new business. Final plan for Monarch Estates site condominiums. Permanent parcel 08203000017. Located on the north side of 22 Mile Road, a quarter mile east of Garfield, section 20, BCLR 22 LLC, petitioner tabled from May 4th, 2021. Mr. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second. Hopefully everybody can see that now. I think I started to go through this at last Tuesday's meeting, but we're here to talk about Monarch Estates. This is phase 3. This is a development that has been out there constructing houses for a number of years already, with phases 1 and 2. And there is a 4th phase that will follow this as well. The previous reviews that came in, they had a few outstanding items to address. All of those have been addressed at this time. They addressed the planning and staking details, a note that needed to be included for the entire common area, being subject to the private easement dedication, as well as the plant list and drawings now accurately correspond to one another. A sign to be located within the dedicated landscape easement that has been located as required. The sign cannot exceed 7 feet in height and 24 square feet in area, and it meets both of those requirements. And must be set back 10 feet from a street right of way, commuter thoroughfare, 15 feet from a local street right of way. That has been met, and it must be externally lit, and that has now been confirmed with their further plans. You should have all received the site plan for the layout for this phase 3. All internal departments at this time are recommending approval for phase 3 of Monarch.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bott. Open it up to commissioners. Anyone? Okay. I'd like to open it up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak? And I'm going to open it up at 6:38.
At this time, there's no one from the public in attendance.
Okay. 6:38. Motion to close the public hearing then?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Oliver, seconded by Mr. Spatafora. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Do we have a motion on the final plan for Monarch?
Do we want the
You know what,
petitioner
I'm sorry.
to?
I should probably ask the petitioner if he has anything he'd like to share. Are you there, Mr. Izzy?
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, everyone. Hi, Mario Izzy with MJC Companies, 46600 Romeo Plank, suite number 5, Macomb Township. I have nothing to add to the planner's report. I just want to thank everybody here this evening and our sincerest gratitude for making this happen. And our thanks to your families for letting you have this meeting tonight. So again, I feel bad we had to do this, but again, thank you so much. It means a lot to us that you're working with us on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, do we have a motion for this item?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I did have one question for Mr. Izzy,
Okay.
if possible, before the motion. Mr. Izzy, looking ahead to phase 4, obviously we're looking at phase 3, which is toward the front of this development. And one common question we hear as these neighborhoods go through is later phases, construction traffic driving through earlier phases. Do you have any idea of how you are going to handle that with phase 4, seeing as you're putting in the front face through now? I know obviously there's some theoretically future Garfield is nearby. I don't know when that will go through relative to when this next phase is, but have you given any thought to that? And what's your current expectation in regard?
Good question, Mr. Tuckfield. So we've had some preliminary discussions with our site contractor. What we generally want to do is try to focus our development traffic through the current development that we're working on. There's plenty of construction traffic in phase 1 and 2 because of the vertical construction going on. So we want to try to split the two up. We have a dedicated entranceway for phase 3. We're going to focus our development traffic deliveries for phase 3 and eventually phase 4 through phase 3. We're going to let phase 1 and phase 2, there's still a few houses being built in phase 1. We're going to try to let phase 1 and phase 2 just focus on the vertical, and whatever ancillary traffic comes through with that, lumber deliveries, concrete trucks, that kind of thing. The roads are public. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, we don't have any other access out to Garfield at this point. So we're going to have to focus on our construction traffic for phase 3 and phase 4 coming through phase 3 on these public roads. So if you will, the east side, phase 1 and 2 will continue to be vertical construction traffic. Phase 3 and 4, the west side, will be site development construction traffic. I'm open to
Right.
suggestions. I'm open to suggestions if anybody has any other ideas. I appreciate it.
I wouldn't advance any suggestions other than I appreciate that you're trying to segregate the east and the west side of that development. And then obviously be mindful as it goes forward. You'll know better the opportunities than we will. If there's any way you can maintain construction traffic into phase 4 in a less heavy way in phase 3, obviously they're public roads. But we have the consideration of the roads failing in the future as well. So just as long as you're mindful of that going forward, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We want to be a good neighbor with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tuckfield. Anybody else? No one? Okay. Anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, if there's no further discussion, Mr. Chairman, I will go ahead and move for a final plan approval. Is Mr. Box, is this a recommended approval with Township Board? Okay. We'll move for a recommended final plan approval of Monarch Estates site condominiums as discussed this evening, as presented by our planner and is recommended by our department.
Support.
Mr. Bentley?
That's fine.
Yeah, Mr. Bentley supported. What I would like to do, folks, and I apologize for not being here last time, but as we're going through new business, I'd like these items to be roll call items. So if we could, would you please call the roll, Mr. Bentley?
I will, yes. Mr. Spatafor?
Yes.
Mr. Bentley? Yes. Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Tuckfield?
Yes.
Mr. Shudo?
Yes.
Okay.
Pass.
Motion passes. Item number 7, old business. Mr. Box, do we have any old business we need to talk about? All right. Item number 8, public comment on non-agenda items. Anybody wish to speak?
I'm not seeing anyone from the public.
All right, then we'll close the public comments. Commissioners' comments.
I have a quick comment and maybe Mr. Orlando can answer this. We talked last meeting about when we had the public hearing. If we're gonna close the public hearing with the motion, are we gonna open it with the motion too? Because that Mike wasn't here last time. I think we discussed that we should do both. Am I correct?
We did, and that is a revision to the bylaws that we have made that will be up for discussion at next week's meeting.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure how we're gonna do it. I want Mike to make sure he knew too,
Sure.
that we were talking about that.
Thank you.
And the other comment I had is, driving down 23 Mile and it's nice seeing people plant things other than crops up and down 23 Mile. Looks like there's a lot of activity going up and down the road, and I don't know if it's a tribute to Josh, but things are moving forward. And Mr. Viviano, I think people are realizing that we're business friendly and make Macomb your home. And that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? I'd just like to make a quick comment. GFL is our provider. And my wife and I got back from Menards and I put 2 bags out by the curb. And they were things that we had purchased. And a GFL guy came by. He saw them and thought they weren't picked up, backed up. But before he threw them in his truck, he looked. And he went well above and beyond. And I had just happened to be out there, huffing and puffing as I was. And he said, I saw these and I didn't think they didn't look like garbage. And I just wanted to compliment GFL because, this gentleman went above and beyond, and that was very much appreciated as a homeowner. And that's all I have. Okay. Macomb Township Board of Trustee liaison.
Got nothing, we don't have, we got a seat tomorrow night's our meeting, so I'll have something for you for.
Okay, got nothing.
Yeah.
ZBA liaison.
Mr. Chairman, I do have something this evening. At last meeting's zoning board of appeals meeting, we had a request for a definition update. This does come before the ZBA on occasion. It's one of the ZBA's responsibilities. In the 10 years or so that I've been on ZBA, I think we've been asked to do it maybe 3 times total, not a frequent occurrence. In this particular case, there was a incongruity in the ordinance, which the ZBA was asked to look at and try to define what the intent was. In this particular case, I believe it translates over from R2L, but we are looking at it in the senior housing ordinance. There, the side yard setback abutting a residential was set at 50 feet, and the side yard green belt was listed at 75 feet, which obviously the two don't work very well. If you're at a setback of 50 feet, there would be no reason to do 75 green belt and vice versa. We looked at this particular ordinance based on the industrial zoning and the commercial zoning. We determined that the 50 feet side setback was probably the accurate number, and that the green belt was probably inaccurate, which was enough to have the proposal go forward that was looking for the definition. However, it's something that I think Mr. Box will be bringing before the planning commission to make sure that we look at the ordinance and change it so that it's accurate. In this particular case, the ZBA's function was to give clarity so that the developer could move forward, but we can't change the ordinance. We can only try to interpret it. So it's going to come back in front of the planning commission for us to make a recommendation on how to change it to the board of trustees, because there's an obvious conflict here. It's just a matter of resolving in the ordinance what the conflict is. Because of the ZBA's definition, the developer is going to start planning his development based on a 50-foot side yard setback and assume that the green belt will be that or less. And so the ZBA took it upon ourselves, because it is our duty, to try to say that was okay, and then hopefully the planning commission will agree that that's probably something that makes sense, in which case the developer will be able to build within those limits. So just something to keep in mind. I don't know the time frame about on when we'll be seeing it, but we'll probably be seeing that relatively shortly. And it's something we'll try to push through, because obviously it's the ordinance arguing with itself, and that's never a great thing. So that was all I had this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tucker. All right, planning department items.
I have nothing.
You have nothing, okay. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Spatafora, supported by Mr. Oliver. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned at 6:49. Thank you, everyone.